This is I Should Be Writing, episode 49, season 17.
Well, I should be writing. I should be working on my craft. I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft. But I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who. More Lafferty.
Hello, everyone. I am your host, Mer Lafferty. This is I Should Be Writing, the podcast for wannabe fiction writers. And there's the dog. Right on time. Actually, you're a little bit late. Okay. Anyway. Were you waiting on me to open the show? Yeah, he was. Okay. Sorry about that. Anyway. Yeah, this show's been going on for quite some time. From the very beginning when I had not sold anything to today when I have a pretty good career. So, I'm very proud of the fact that I have cleaned up the archives. Most of it. And if you support the Patreon or the Jemmy or the Kickstarter or the not Kickstarter or I'll just put the things in the chat. There we go. The Jemmy and Coffee. That's right. Those two are new ways you can become a member if you don't want to use Patreon. Different options. It's all sorts of open and fun. I've been feeling very off today. I've kind of feel like when news comes, you try to respond to it and then you move on, but it's still like marinating somewhere in the back of your brain. It's been a rough several weeks, extended family-wise, and so I got a call this morning about another piece of news. So I'm still a little, I don't know what the word is. It's Anyway, it's been, and so after getting the call about a family member, I tried to brainstorm a show topic, and I couldn't. I really couldn't. I was like blank. And it's funny because this kind of thing really doesn't usually happen to me. I do the dang, I just, turn on the mic and I'll talk about writing forever. No problem. So yeah, news for me, I do have a piece of news. I have news, guys. My book has a title. If you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that I sold this book years ago. And then I sold it on a premise, so I had to write it. And then there was a pandemic and an editor change, and then I had a rewrite. And for all that time, nobody could agree on what the book was called. Because I think I'm starting to become the kind of writer that does a silly premise and turns it dark. So, and people don't always know what to do with that. And so, the book title is Station Eternity. That's the name of the sentient space station. And the series is Mid-Solar Murders. So, my pun-loving friend Daniel gets to have his cleverness on my books forever. And I'm just glad to have a title. I really, really am thrilled. So that's my big piece of news. Also, I wrote about a little over 1,000 words on the novella this morning. And I edited the second chapter, so I did more than that. So that's my productivity for the day. But if y'all have some good news, I would love to hear it. And again, if you're listening to this later or watching the VOD later, if you have good news you want to tell me, email me and I'll say it in the next episode, in the next live stream. And while you guys are gathering up your good news, I'm going to say hi. Oh, Meerkat wants me to turn on dog cam. Well, he's going to have to get a treat for a good boy because I have to move him. He's like right here next to me. Dog cam. Nope. No, you have to go back over here. You have to go back over here. Get on your rug. Get on your rug. This is the high quality stuff that y'all pay for, isn't it? Woot! Okay. Now, he can't get back here because I put a violin in his way, so he should settle down at his spot. Settle down. And turn around a corner. There we go. Dog cam. Fire Writer submitted my first short story ever. First submission ever. That's awesome. Well done. I'm very excited for you. So anyway, the topic that I came up with, I'm not even sure why I came up with it. It just kind of... It came into my head because people are contacting me frequently now about either having themselves or their client on the show. And the thing is, I haven't done regular interviews on I Should Be Writing in years. I've done a couple here and there. Ditch Diggers, I have guest hosts because Matt's gone for a little while. But I really haven't interviewed anybody in a while, and a lot of that is mental energy. It took me so much to get a show idea and do the work to get the show up. The idea of adding somebody else, handling their schedule, making sure all their stuff is good, really just made me want to quit. And so I thought I can either quit or I can pare down what I'm doing. And so I made it more minimal. And then last year I started whining to myself that I wasn't growing. It's probably because you cut a major part out of your show that people liked. So I'm working on it, but I haven't announced that I'm working on it. And I don't know if someone mentioned the show on a list of podcasts for writers or something, which I'm always grateful for. But they suddenly come out of the woodwork and they want to promote their client's memoir or their how-to book or their finance book or their creativity book. And I'm like, on my site it says I'm not doing interviews right now. So it's really easy to find the information on how to get your client on the show. Currently, you can't. But that doesn't stop anybody. And I feel super guilty every time I have to say, no, I'm not going to have your person on my show. Either they don't fit what I talk about, or I don't care how hard-hitting the memoir is, it doesn't fit the show. Or I just am not, I don't have the spoons to do it. And it kills me every time. And I remembered that we have these things where we're, you have the Shonda Rhimes Year of Yes thing, where she was trying to say yes to every opportunity to see what it did for her life, and it was amazing and wonderful. And then you've got other people saying you can't truly focus on what you do and what you're working on until you say no to somebody. Because you saying no to them is saying yes to yourself. Saying no to giving somebody else your time means you have time for yourself. And so you get these two different warring opinions that seem completely opposite each other. When you think about characters in your stories, luckily no one here sees my early drafts because I am commonly far too nice to my characters. I've talked a lot about conflict here and why you need to throw everything but the kitchen sink at your characters. It's because if you're not nice to them, then they can show what they can do when things go badly. You can't have this amazing warrior without throwing something monstrous at him or her or them. You can't have a brilliant debater without having somebody equally strong on the other side. It just doesn't happen. It's like, it reminded me of that, there was an episode of the Tick animated series where they went to a superhero bar. And so we got to see a lot of very strange superheroes, including the guy who just, his only superpower was he had a grenade. And so he threatened people. But it was only a superpower he could use once. So, he never actually used his power because then he wouldn't be able to use it ever again. I don't know if that terribly applies, but it came to my head, so I thought I'd say it. But I have to be meaner in my subsequent drafts to people. Anyway, so I started making a graph of what you do for like the value of being nice and the value of not being nice. Because, you know, if it works for Shonda Rhimes, she's building a TV empire. So, you know, following maybe a little bit about what she does seems like a good idea. But on the other hand, if you're a pushover people pleaser like me, you'll say yes to everything, get rid of all of your energy, and then have nothing left. So, and the thing is, whenever I ask anybody for anything and they say no because they need to work on something internally or themselves or their book, or they don't have the energy and just really want to spend time with their family instead of be on a show or something, I always respect that. And yet, I never expect anybody to respect it when I say no. But that's a deeper problem. So when you say yes, people like you. It's the truth. According to Benjamin Franklin, you also like them. This has been like an anecdotal thing. I've never read any biographies or probably autobiographies of him, but I heard that there was somebody who really, really hated him a lot. And the way he dealt with it was he asked the guy either to borrow something or something within his expertise. And so he basically saying, I respect you for this thing that you know a lot about. Could you help me? And apparently that pleased the guy very much. And so I always thought that like giving of yourself makes someone like you, but sometimes asking someone for their expertise works too. And I just thought about that on the in the internet age. That's not so happy making, because a lot of people want a lot of stuff for free and really get mad when you want to be paid. But thinking about it in the meaning where, what's the word I'm looking for? In the spirit of what Franklin did, it is respecting somebody else's expertise and getting something back. So that's one of the things about it, builds a connection between two people. Yeah, dark work, excuse me. That's the point. That's my point, is saying yes and people pleasing can be dangerous, because you can just give of everything and then you're the giving tree. And I'm one of those people that hates the giving tree. I know lots of people like it, but I hate it. And yet I am still very close to living it, because I do give a lot. I just need to remember not to. Also, being nice and saying yes opens you to more opportunities. There's a lot of stuff out there that it's sometimes hard to define the things that ask you to be involved with them. And some of those things can be really helpful to you and your career. And some of those things can just be you helping someone else, which can be nice and can still form a friendship. But sometimes you don't know. But seeing as I am a people pleaser and way too nice, this is something I struggle with a lot, both in my writing and in my life. So I'm trying to come up with things on my list. And then we can talk about asking. So since we've just acknowledged that while saying yes does open you up to possibilities, saying no protects your own mental energy, physical energy, time, all of that. But when you ask people for things, you're also asking them to give you their time, their energy, and all that. And so you need to be aware. You need to not ask for too much. People who no one calls me. People who contact me and want me to be on their podcast and don't tell me, typically it's a 2.5 to 3 hour podcast, that's not cool. It hasn't happened in a long time, but I remember when that happened, and I'm like, I didn't think to ask how long your show is. And it still baffled me that people thought that 3-hour podcasts were a great idea. And there were some people that loved that, but it's that adult thing. It's like, who has that kind of time? I'm low on topic stuff today. Just the taking care of yourself versus helping other people is a balance you need to learn how to strike. I mean, my problem is my desire to be liked is so deep that as I've gotten older and been able to respect my time and claim it and only give it away when I think I'm able to. When I was first nominated for my first major award, I was stupid enough to look at people's opinions on the awards nominations that year, and one person said, and I know this was an insult, the only reason Mur got nominated is because she's so well liked. And the thing is, I thought that was great. Because, people like me. And part of me is like, hello, you want to be acknowledged and respected as an author, remember? They're saying that your writing doesn't matter, and I'm just still like, people like me. Yeah, so and even now, it doesn't bother me as much as I know it should. But it's a thing. I'm working on it, because I know that I see other people claiming their time and getting happier. I had a Tobias Buckell on Ditch Stickers a couple of years ago, and I think it was titled "The Power of Saying No," because I think I saw a blog post or something, or we were talking at a con, and I wanted to elaborate what he was saying. And he stopped going to cons who won't pay him to be there as a speaker. And what he found out was he had more time on his hands, and when he did go to cons, it was worth his while. But, I almost always say yes to cons if I can go there. I like cons. I did realize during my second guest of honor stint that you may not have friends at a con if someone's paying for you to go there. And it's like, it's not correlation and causation. It's just, if someone's paying for you to go, it might not be a place where your friends go because it's not easy to get to, or whatever. But being guest of honor is like a big honor. And then when I have a little bit of downtime, I realize I don't know anybody there. So I don't know if I would want to go Toby's route, but it certainly made me respect how he is claiming his time, and how he doesn't want to travel, and he doesn't want to give that much when he has health issues and twins and a family. Let's see. Raven says, how to handle that guilt when you say no or be not nice because you want to be likable. I think knowing your priorities is a big help to prevent that guilt. Yeah, it is. And sometimes I feel the guilt, but I know that I did the right thing, which is a little bitter, but having the logical mind going, hello, you did the right thing. Please grow up a little bit. Christian Running says, I think Gaiman has a saying about being likable getting you far in publishing, as in please don't be a jerk to people, not as in nice people get awards they don't deserve. Being there's the triangle of freelance. I think it's freelance. I don't know. I've heard a lot of different people use it for different things, but usually it involves something creative, and that's on time, really good, and easy to work with. And you can usually get 2. Sometimes people put fast in there. No, that's on time. Never mind. And so if you are really good and you turn your stuff in on time, people don't care if you're a jerk. If you turn stuff in on time and are super nice, then they'll overlook the fact that you may need a little bit more editing than somebody else. So it's that way of thinking, is they'll forgive. As long as you can handle two of those parts of the triangle, they'll forgive the third. But yeah, it's like, you want to know you want to decide what hill to die on when you realize you have to be not nice. Do you want to risk them thinking of you as the problem author when you stand up for yourself, or is it worth the hill to die on? That was a terrible saying. Is it worth dying on that hill? That's what I mean. And I'm not saying that if you make your needs known, you'll be a problem author. I'm just saying that sometimes when you push back a lot, you get the fear. I get the fear that I'm going to be the problem. I was unhappy about a book cover once, and I complained about it, and then they brought me back something I liked less. And so I stopped complaining about it because I was sure that if I mentioned it again, it would just keep getting worse and worse in my eyes. So, but then again, I know somebody who walked away from a very lucrative deal, movie deal, because they would not commit to keeping one of their black characters black. And that was the deal breaker. That was the hill they were going to die on. You don't whitewash my characters. Kay Kimmy says, sometimes it helps remind myself that saying no can be good for the person asking me too. They can find someone who's a better fit. True. And a lot of times when it comes to your kids, I think you can figure this out yourself, and then you encourage them to grow. So yeah, again, I apologize for not being fully here today. Just weird stuff. I think a lot of coming to terms with being kind to myself has been, if I think something bad about myself, would I ever think that about someone I love? You know, if a good friend is late, would I just be berating them as being a complete loser over and over again? And if I admire other people who are able to say no to me, and I admire them for knowing their priorities and taking care of what their priorities are, then I should respect myself for the same thing. Brain doesn't do that very well, but I'm trying. And still, I'm not saying I don't want to help people. I feel very strongly, because I think about the authors who gave me the time of day when I was completely unpublished. The people who were not snobs to me at cons or sat down to talk to me, or were just vocal and gave me a lot of support. And I always think that I want to do that for authors as well. So I'm definitely not saying I'm just going into a hole and I'm going to be a mean hermit, but just the prioritizing's hard. It's hard. It's hard for me, with my to-do list. I was on my run this morning, I was listening to The Disorganized Mind again, because I realized all I remember from the procrastination chapter was how much I related to the guy who was her case study in talking about procrastination. And that feeling of staying busy and doing all the things on your to-do list so you can look at your actual priority and think, well, when I'm done with all this other distracting stuff, I can focus on this and give it all my energy, and it never happens. And yet I still think that. And so I just remembered that knowing what my priority is on my day-to-day, but also knowing what my priority is if someone asks me for help or to be on my show or whatever, I have to keep the priorities in mind. Thank you for listening to I Should Be Writing. If you would like to hear the extended version of this episode, you can support at Patreon for as little as $1 at patreon.com/mightymur, or you could just come hang out with us on Twitch, where we will keep going with this conversation. You can learn more about me and my books and my podcasts at murverse.com. You can email me your questions about writing at mightymur@gmail.com. My socials are Twitter, mightymur, Instagram when I remember to put something up, and that's mightymur numeral 2. And you can catch this show and my other streams live on Twitch, twitch.tv/mightymur. Thank you to John Anelio for the use of his song, I Should Be Writing. And thank you to Summer Brooks for the awesome production she gives. So that's it for me. I'll see you next time. And until then, you should be writing.
I do this to myself.
This podcast is brought to you by my Patreon supporters. If you would also like to join the ink-stained fabulists, go to patreon.com/mightymur.
Up on that shelf, on the spine of a paperback.